Good morning, my dear student friends. In my last class, I explained a poem called Telephone Conversation. And in this class, I would like to explain a lesson called Like a Tree Unbowed, a biography of Wanjari Maathai. Like a Tree Unbowed is a biography. I think you know the difference between biography and autobiography. A biography is a life story of a successful person written by somebody else, whereas an autobiography is a story of a person written by himself. Generally, when you are writing a biography, you are going to use third persons like he, she, it, etc. and etc. But coming to autobiography, you are going to use a first person like I, we, etc. and etc. That's the difference between a biography and autobiography. So this lesson, Like a Tree Unbowed, is a biography. In my last class, I told you, before you read the lesson, you must understand the title of the lesson first. The title of present lesson is Like a Tree Unbowed. Then what is the meaning of the word unbowed? Unbowed means like a striped, stand striped, that is called as unbowed. And this lesson is about protection of environment. Wanjari Maathai, by this lesson, she wants to tell the importance of environment, and the measures should be taken by the people and the government to protect environment. That's the main idea of writing this lesson. If you look at history, there were many movements to protect environment. In the year 1730, nearly 363 men from Rajasthan sacrificed their lives in order to protect trees in Rajasthan. In the modern history, in the year 1973, people from a small hamlet called Chipko, they hugged the trees in order to protect trees, and that movement is popularly known as the Chipko movement. All these movements were started by men and supported by women, but in the history there is a movement called Green Belt movement. It was started by women by name Wanjari Maathai and supported by men over the world. Wanjari Maathai was born on 1st April in the year 1940 in Kenya. She was a women's rights activist, environment activist, government officer and Nobel Prize winner. Wanjari's father was a poor farmer. Africa is a male-dominated society. Women were not permitted to go to schools. Women were restricted only to household affairs like collecting firewood, fetching water, preparing food to the family, etc. and etc. As I already told you, women were not permitted to go to schools. But in Wanjari's house, Wanjari's elder brother noticed the interest in Wanjari's in education. So he admitted Wanjari in the local school, but later, in order to provide her better education, she was shifted over from the local school to a boarding school run by Christian missionaries. Soon after the completion of her secondary education in Kenya, she got a scholarship and moved from Kenya to America. In America, she joined in Atkinson College, and where she completed BSc Biology in the year 1960. In the year 1962, she joined in Pittsburgh University, and there she completed Masters in Biology. Soon after the completion of master's degree, she came back to Kenya and joined in the University of Nairobi in order to study anatomy of veterinary sciences. After the completion of the course, she was selected as a professor in the same university, that is called University of Nairobi. and she was the first African woman who became professor in the University of Nairobi. While studying in America, she was influenced by civil rights movements like Vietnam War movement, and also she was highly influenced by a number of civil rights movements in America. She came to know that democracy gives the right of speech. Right of speech is very, very powerful, so people can express their views and ideas without having any fear. And that she came to know in America. Like many African women, Wanjari Maathai married in the year 1970. Her husband's name was Wanjari Maathai, who was a politician, and they gave birth to 3 children. And because of some internal problems, personal reasons, both of them were separated. In the court, her husband told to the judge, Wanjari Maathai was too educated and too stubborn and too hard to control her. So by telling all these reasons, he applied for the divorce, and finally he got the divorce, and both of them were separated. And that's about the personal life of Wanjari Maathai. Being a woman of confidence, outspokenness and uprightness, she joined the National Council of Women of Kenya, that is called as NCWK, an NGO organization in order to provide better education to Kenyan women. She also participated in a number of political activities, and because of that she was arrested a number of times, and she was kept behind bars a number of times, and she was beaten by police a number of times. When Kenya became an independent democratic country, Wanjari Maathai participated in the first national elections, and she won with a landslide victory with 98% of votes. According to one newspaper, women danced in the streets of Nairobi for joy. After the elections, she became a minister, and she became deputy minister of environment, natural resources and wildlife. As a minister, she noticed a lot of deforestation activities were going in Kenya. Deforestation means converting the forest land into agricultural land, or cutting the forest and converting that land for urbanization, etc. and etc. That is called as deforestation. A lot of deforestation activities were going in Kenya. That was noticed by Wanjari Maathai. So she decided to convert the deforestation area into reforestation. Reforestation means planting small plants in the area, and that is called as reforestation. African women were very poor. If they were paid for reforestation, they were benefited, and this is the idea of Wanjari Maathai. And this idea became very, very popular. Nearly 30,000 African women participated in Greenbelt movement, and all of them were benefited. And by the end of 1986, they planted nearly 30 million plants in Kenya. By the end of 1986, this movement, Greenbelt movement, moved to other countries like Zimbabwe, Zambia, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and other African countries. First time her hard work for human rights and environment were recognized in the world, and she received a number of awards and rewards. She received a Goldman's Environmental Prize, and the Right Livelihood Award, and the United Nations African Prize for Leadership, and she received Edinburgh's Medal in the year 1992. In the year 1997, she was elected Earth's Times as one of 100 persons in the world who made differences in the field of environment. In the year 2004, she received one of the most prestigious prizes called a Nobel Peace Prize. Here I would like to tell you one thing. Nobel Peace Prize will be given to the people who worked for peace during war. First time, the Nobel Committee selected an environmentalist and a human rights activist for this prize. And that's none other than Wanjari Maathai. After receiving the Nobel Prize, she gave a speech. In the Nobel Prize speech, she mentioned the prize, the Nobel Prize, is just like icing on the cake. And she also said, no matter problems, no matter what problems we face, we can still protect environment and think of future generations. Future generations should not pay for the mistakes done by the present generation. Your forefathers carefully handed over the environment to you, and it's your responsibility to hand over the environment safely to the future generations. And that's what she said in her Nobel Peace Prize speech. Leader beyond Greenbelt movement. Her work has gone beyond trees. She fought against foreign debt in Kenya. She fought against land grabbing, and she also fought against corruption in the society. Having participated in a number of political activities, she was arrested a number of times and she was beaten by the police a number of times. Wanjari Maathai's philosophy and values. Her philosophy consisting of 5 objects. 1. Love for environment. Number 2. Self-betterment. Number 3. Gratitude. Number 4. Respect. And the number 5. Commitment to service. While telling about education, she said that education is very, very important in the society. Education is going to bring a lot of changes in the society. Only educated people can understand the importance of environment. And when somebody asked her about fear, she said that she had fear, but she was not going to exhibit her fear. Later years, she fought against corruption, she fought against land grabbing, she fought against foreign debt, and finally she became victim of cancer. She died on September 25th, 2011 at the age of 71, and she was survived by 3 children. Wanjari Maathai, the pole star. As you know, pole star means a star which shows you the direction. And her biography is a pole star because it teaches many lessons to us. It teaches about the importance of environment, and it also teaches why we should protect environment. It teaches about deforestation, reforestation, and many things. In one of the signboards it is written, it really makes sense to be sure to catch the right bus. If you catch your right bus, you will reach the right destination. If you catch a wrong bus, you may land in a wrong place. So always catch a right bus and reach the right destination. That's what her biography says. Thank you.